Death, enslavement, exile. This is the fate of the chatty warriors and their families.
Wow.
Caecina sees a grotesque corpse of Varus rising up from the flooded marsh, telling him that his legions will suffer the same fate.
Oh, hell nah!
Entire villages are razed to the ground.
Jesus, have
inhabitants
mercy.
who escape execution and enslavement are driven out, bringing with them tales of Rome's wrath.
Oh!
The familiar strident howls and screams come from the rear
Oh!
as the main tribal host charges in.
Oh, okay, here it comes, here it comes. Last time, you know, we watched part 1. That was absolutely crazy, man. Part 2, continuing this series. That's a part of Members Week.
Forest are hunted down by Germanic warriors in the days following the battle. Most Romans who make it to the Lippe coalesce in the fort of Aliso, commanded by Prefect Lucius Caedicius.
Bro, I'm surprised
Arminius
to even have.
catches up
I'm genuinely surprised to even have anyone that was able to get out of that freaking trap. I'm just honestly surprised.
them a day later. Besieged at Aliso for weeks, the Romans suffer several major assaults on the camp. But Lucius's firm command keeps the men in line. They are to endure at all cost. With thousands of Romans in Aliso, who retreated not only from the Teutoburg Forest, but from around Germania Magna, Arminius is eager to crush this remaining enemy strongpoint. With eyes ever vigilant, Lucius sees his chance.
Bruh.
Sword in hand, he leads
the video
breakout
just
attempt.
started. The video just started and it's already... We're already getting crazy.
Heroes of the Roman army in Germania, the valor and leadership of Lucius Caedicius preserves the lives of thousands of troops as they fight their way out.
Okay, Mr. Lucy
Around
does.
this time, Arminius's message is received by Augustus, Varus's severed head in a box. Meanwhile, from Aliso, Caedicius's own message sent to the Rhine is relayed to Rome. The barbarians have breached the defenses. They are inside the camp. Our legions in Germania are no more. But Rome will endure. Rome will always endure.
Bruh! What a way to start off a video!
His defeat and the destruction of the army of Germania, Rome is plunged into emergency and mourning. Exaggerated stories spread among the populace about the columns.
He was defeated on September 11th, 9 AD. So he was literally defeated on 9/11. What are the odds? 9/11/9. What are the odds that that day will become another disastrous day in history again? What are the odds of that? Bruh, that is mad. That is mad. We have 9/11. That's the infamous day in America. And we have 9/11. That's the infamous day for Rome. Bruh, that day is cursed.
Of fire and desolation on the far side of the Alps. Fear grows that the barbarians will sweep through the mountain passes into the Po Valley. But Augustus keeps a cool head. His adopted son Tiberius, Rome's most able general, has been awaiting his triumph for the successful conclusion of the revolt in Illyricum, but he is instead ordered to move north. In Italy itself, Augustus reintroduces conscription of both the young men and retired veterans to replace the thousands of professional legionaries lost to Arminius. Some of the legions recently fighting under Tiberius in Illyricum are moved to reinforce the bases on the Rhine. More troops are brought from the stable provinces, most notably the 2nd Legion Augusta, marching from Spain. These reinforcements are intended to bolster the 2 legions under Lucius Nonius Asprensis, Varus's own nephew, that he brought from Moguntiacum to the Lower Rhine. The single pontoon bridge at Vetera that was accessible to infantry and cavalry is cut away and rendered useless to prevent the Germanic army from crossing into Gaul. Arminius indeed uses the momentum of the victory at Teutoburg to advance on the Rhine and clear any sign of Roman presence along the eastern riverbank. He sweeps the lands of the Ubii in the north to the Usipeti in the south. Roman forts are seized and villages loyal to the empire are plundered. Arminius then retreats to regroup and prepare for next spring. When Tiberius arrives at his new headquarters, he brings composure to the men in the aftermath of the shock of the collapse in Germania. Although he is known as an authoritarian who pushes his men harder than most other commanders, he is also a general who will not needlessly risk their lives in unnecessary gambles. It is illustrative of his unhurried but invariably successful approach that despite this massive build-up of power in time for the campaigning season of 10 AD, Tiberius does not immediately strike into the wilds of Germania. Instead, he takes the time to organize his forces, stabilize Gaul, and further strengthen the forts along the Rhine. On the other side of the river, it becomes clear over the course of the next year that Arminius may well have overplayed his hand. The German leader makes no attempt to cross the Rhine, perhaps lacking the capability for such an operation, or
Yeah. That's what it looks like. I'm not gonna lie. Arminius is very docile now, not doing anything, and Rome just. It just seems like Rome just lick its wounds and just lick its wounds and just came back. So,
facing opposition from other tribal leaders who deem the venture too risky. But most notably, aside from devastating the territory directly facing Rome, he does not attack those tribes on the periphery, like the Frisians or the Batavi, who are still loyal to the empire. To the Romans, this may have indicated that Arminius's reach is limited, even in Germania. Noting this, Tiberius understands what is to be done.
Oh,
Continue
shit.
the steady build-up of overwhelming Roman military capability.
Oh, Arminius is about to get wiped. He about to get wiped.
Resources, and then launch a thorough sweep over the land between the Rhine and Elbe rivers. Another effect of the build-up is that it will both encourage friendly tribes to remain loyal and undermine the coalition led by Arminius. By the start of the year 11, Tiberius has 8 legions at his command, along with equivalent auxiliaries and his capable and skilled nephew Germanicus. He is finally ready to make his move. The campaign does not start as a flaming charge for vengeance, as many had expected. Tiberius's first campaign is instead deliberate and painstaking. Fire and death are coming for Arminius and his rebellious tribes. But in Tiberius's customary way, revenge will be served in a cold, deliberate, and absolute manner. Moving his forces over to the eastern bank, he uses the campaign season to burn and destroy the holdings of the nearby tribes who turned on Rome. Entire villages are razed to the ground.
Jesus,
Those
have
inhabitants
mercy.
who escape execution and enslavement are driven out, bringing with them tales of Rome's wrath.
Oh, yo, guys, I've done a lot of Rome reactions, but I don't think I've ever seen like I've seen Rome respond to like rebellions and whatnot, but like I don't think I've ever seen Rome respond
Main
like
objective
this hard, like the full wrath.
is to reopen the buffer zone along the eastern bank of the Rhine. This achieved, and the roads to the east cleared, he returns to the forts on the western side for the winter. This operation is repeated in 12 AD, but news reaches Tiberius that Augustus has begun to show signs of ill health. Already chosen as the next emperor by the old Augustus, Tiberius makes his way to Rome to celebrate his triumph for the revolt in Illyricum and prepare for the transition of power.
Bruh, man said you can wait.
Germanicus
my man said the Germans can wait.
Continues Tiberius's strategy by ravaging the Bructeri and Marsi tribes. His campaign in 13 AD strikes deep into Germania, supposedly reaching as far as the river Elbe, a feat that earns Germanicus a triumph. Arminius remains a central and auspicious figure, but despite his immortal victory in the Teutoburg, the unstoppable grind of the legions returning each year, combined with the inability of the tribes to fight them off, reduces his authority with each campaign season. Then, in late summer of 14 AD, the elderly Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus breathes his last after months of declining health. While Tiberius is busy removing political opponents and consolidating his position, most of the population and soldiery cannot remember a time without Augustus as their emperor. Fearful of the uncertainty that lies ahead, the legions demand their grievances be heard at once. First on the list, deductions from their pay for equipment. By this time, Rome's army was almost fully professional, so being saddled with hefty price tags for things such as uniforms and tents caused discontent. Worse, the purses of the legionaries are regularly fleeced by corrupt centurions who take bribes in exchange for lighter duties and other perks. Service length is another sticking point. Augustus had set the military term for legionaries to 16 years, plus 4 years as veterans who were exempt from regular duties, but still required to fight.
16 years? Bruh. Hell nah. Nah. Bro, medical school is like 10 to 12 years. Medical school, bruh. 16 years in the military? Nah,
But the constant warfare during his reign left Rome with a manpower shortage, so the regular service was extended to 20 years, plus 5 years. Unhappy with the increase, the troops now demand this be reverted. But the lumps drop bonuses promised in Augustus's name. With his death, it is thought these will not be paid, and it triggers a mutiny among the legions in Pannonia and the Lower Rhine. Germanicus just manages to avoid a catastrophe on the Rhine by using a mixture of conciliation and coercion. Bonuses are paid, salaries adjusted, and time of service reduced. Tiberius makes similar concessions in Pannonia. The mutiny is quelled. But the true highlight of these negotiations is Germanicus's trickery. In an address to the legions, with a straight face, he spins the mutiny as a disgrace, shaming the troops for their conduct. And the only way to redeem themselves is by showing loyalty in battle. The mind game works, and by the autumn of 14 AD, Germanicus's legions are ready. Crossing at Vetera, Germanicus correctly calculates that the roads and forest paths will be hardened due to a dry summer and decides on a rapid eastward march south of the river Lippe to raid the lands of the Marsi. He divides his army into 4 columns, sowing a swathe of destruction around 50 kilometres wide. Throughout September and October, towns and villages are laid waste, and inhabitants sold into slavery. Some of the lost Roman strongholds are re-garrisoned. Finally, the 4 columns merge and cross at Anrepen and begin their march back towards the Rhine, along the northern bank of the Lippe.
Bro,
while the Marsi were
they are not letting the Germans up, man. Holy!
The Roman attack, they sent word to their allies to intercept Germanicus on his return.
Oh shit!
Chiefly the Bructeri, Tubantes, and Usipids.
Oh shit!
These await the Romans in a heavily forested area just east of Aliso.
Okay.
Hardened earth makes movement easy for Germanicus.
Let's see how this goes. Let's see how
the road is narrow and surrounded by thick vegetation. The talk among some of the troops is of Varus and his legions, and a fate that befell them in a forest very similar to this one.
That's exactly what I was thinking, bro. I was thinking to myself, man, I know these people are thinking about that, bro.
Until the Romans are beneath the shadows of the tree cover before launching an all too familiar attack. They hit the vanguard first to stop the column dead in its tracks. But Germanicus doesn't hesitate. He keeps the column moving and orders the 1st, 5th, 20th and 21st legions to form a hollow square. As the infantry cuts their way through the vegetation, the progress is slow but steady. The battle rages in the front, but Germanicus senses that this is just a feint and that the main attack is yet to come. He orders the cavalry in the front to retreat and reform with the auxiliaries at the head of the square. The tribesmen keep launching sporadic attacks at the front of the column, but soon more Bructeri rush in from the shadows on the flanks. But the Romans formed their battle lines and are able to withstand the onslaught. All the while, the column keeps inching forward.
Onslaught.
The pressure increases at the front.
It's hilarious because, like I said in my, I think I said this in my previous reaction in part 1. Onslaught is the Germanic word for attack in English. Attack isn't, well, I'm not sure the origins of attack, but the German word Aschlang, which means attack, is cognate with onslaught in English. So I like the fact that he used onslaught here because he's talking about Germans attacking. I don't know. I just think that's like, this is what I like about History Marche. Like, the way he like, I don't even know how to describe it. He just knows when to use like certain things. That's the best way I can put it. And it's honestly like neat to see, honestly. You really need to either A, like know your information, or B, like really pay attention. But like History Marche, like the way how he drops these, I don't know, you could call it Easter eggs, I don't know. It's kind of cool.
More tribesmen emerge from the woods to join the fray, forcing the Roman vanguard and auxiliaries back to the lines of the 1st Legion. However, despite attacking from multiple directions, the tribesmen still cannot stop the advance of the legionaries. Moreover, Roman losses are minimal, and they become more emboldened with each repelled attack. But Germanicus urges the men not to get carried away, insisting that the main strike is yet to come. Sure enough, sometime in the afternoon, the familiar strident howls and screams come from the rear as the main tribal host charges in.
Oh, okay, here it comes, here it comes,
From
here
the
it
center
comes.
of the square, Germanicus directs the cavalry to close ranks with the auxiliaries to receive the initial blow. The overwhelming assault from the rear does nothing to stop the advancing column, but for the first time, the Romans suffer heavy casualties.
Oh!
The fighting,
bro, I am getting goosebumps right now. Holy shit.
becomes increasingly chaotic all around the battlefield, as men of both armies struggle to move through the near impossible undergrowth.
Oh my goodness.
Serving the
Who the hell is going to win this?
Atop his horse, Germanicus can see that his rear troops have slowed the momentum of the enemy. This is the moment he's been waiting for.
Oh!
At his signal, the column comes to a halt, and the 20th Legion charges the Bructeri host in the rear.
Okay, let him cook.
The infantry counterattack turns the battle in Rome's favor. In an instant, legionaries bulldoze their way into the enemy, inflicting terrible casualties. Unable to recover, Germanic warriors in the rear turn and flee. The rest of the tribesmen follow suit, disappearing in the dark forest. The rest of the march towards the Rhine continues without incident. Tiberius is pleased by the successful campaign, but secretly becomes worried about Germanicus's rising popularity. He is also against the policy of conquest in Germania, preferring to extract tribute and let the tribes fight against each other. But he cannot yet implement his own policies, not until he consolidates his position in Rome. Thus, an aggressive stance against the tribes will continue for now. By early spring of 15 AD, Germanicus devises a multi-phased plan. Himself stationed at Moguntiacum, he crosses the Rhine with 4 legions and 10,000 auxiliaries. The main objective of the spring campaign is the lands of the Chatti, described by Tacitus as having a well-developed political and military structure, and who are perhaps the most formidable tribe in all of Germania.
Ooh.
He leads a small detachment to rebuild.
He's going right to the final boss, man.
On Mount Taunus. Engineers are tasked with building makeshift roads and bridges to speed up movement through hostile territory. Germanicus proceeds to annihilate their towns and villages, eventually razing their capital Matium to the ground. Tribal embassies are turned back. Death, enslavement, exile. This is the fate of the Chatti warriors and their families.
Wow.
Desperate
Wow.
pleas for aid are sent to the Carusi.
Jeez, bro, the Romans are not playing around. Holy shit.
Aulus Caecina, having made his own crossing with 4 legions and 5,000 auxiliaries, advances rapidly along the northern bank of the Lippe to create a diversion in the Carusi territory. Villages are set ablaze, but Caecina avoids larger settlements and mostly stays on the move. The main goal is to keep Arminius pinned down and unable to come to the aid of the Chatti. Caecina was one of the right-hand men of the late Augustus. He is one of the finest military men in the empire.
I don't know who this is, but
On
okay.
the return journey, he enters Marsi lands from the east, yet again catching them by surprise, and unleashes further destruction.
Bruh!
He forces their commander to surrender, thus knocking out one member of the Germanic coalition.
Bro, these Germans are so helpless. Oh my goodness, I pity them.
Is a total success.
This is literally
With Marsi
blitzkrieg.
and the Chatti
The irony, the irony. Oh, the irony, the irony, the irony. How the hell are the Germans being the ones getting blitzkrieg? Oh, that's hilarious, dude. That's like that is so ironically hilarious. You have no idea. Oh, you it's supposed to be the other way around, bro.
The hated Carusi will be next. But Caecina's diversion in Carusi territory creates political fallout, which endangers Segestes, the leader of the pro-Roman faction. Segestes is Arminius' father-in-law, but also an ally of Rome. Before the Battle of the Teutoburg Forest, it was he who warned Varus that Arminius was planning to betray him, but his warnings were ignored.
Auto insurance.
Now, Segestes is suspected of inviting the Romans into Carusi lands, which ruins his standing among the tribal elite. Worse, he orchestrates the kidnapping of his own daughter, Tusnelda, from Arminius. She is Arminius' wife and is pregnant with his child. The other leaders turn on him.
What type of logic? What type of logic is this? Kidnapping your own daughter? What? That I swear, this is something that I never thought I would hear in a sentence. You kidnap your own daughter. You kidnap. Okay. Okay.
And he is besieged in his fort by Arminius. Germanicus, reunited with Caecina at Vetra by April, recrosses the Rhine to rescue Segestes. He brings the full weight of his 8 legions to bear.
8 legions!
Plow through enemy territory unopposed, as the tribes still cannot organize a response.
Oh my gosh, these Germans are, honestly, these Germans are so trash. Like, I actually expected more out of these Germans, bro. Holy shit, these Germans are actually so bad.
Crossing the Weser River, Germanicus reaches Segestes' fort. The overwhelming Roman presence forces Arminius to retreat. With Segestes and his relatives in tow, the Romans march back towards the Rhine frontier. However, the taking of Arminius' pregnant wife angers the neighboring tribal leaders. They see it as Rome coming for their noble women and children, and in their minds, this brazen act cannot go unpunished. Many...
Bro, okay. Bruh. On some real shit. Men, I get this all the time from dudes. Like, I watch so many documentaries about war and shit, bruh. And... like, all the time, you hear dudes be like, oh my god, I'm protecting my wife and children. Oh, the enemy's coming for our women and blah, 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 blah. My brother in Christ, you can see this shit today in Europe too, where you'll hear so many Europeans be like, my immigrant is coming for our pure white women. Bro, my immigrant is gonna grape my pure white women. Bro, what type of logic is when someone else, a part of, like, I don't know, like, affiliated with, I guess in this case, I'm just going to use the Europe example, right? When a white guy does it, when a white guy goes and grape another white chick, ain't nobody give a shit. All these people crying about my women getting raped, my women getting raped. I swear, they only cry and moan and complain when is immigrants doing it. And this is not me saying like, yo, that's okay. I'm just pointing out the double standards. But like, when is anyone from them, like a part of their group, they don't give a shit. Like, I've seen this throughout. Like, bruh, this is honestly just a guy thing. Like, this isn't just like a European thing or anything. No, this is just a guy thing. Like, I've noticed so many times I hear, oh my gosh, they're coming for our women. But when niggas who are a part of the same group do it to their women, they don't give a shit. They're like, what? But you know, when an outsider comes now it's well, how dare you do that? What? I swear. Like, woo! I don't know, man. There's a lot of shit that I can honestly complain about dudes, but like, this is just one of them because it's relevant to the video that I just wanted to point out. That's a dumb double standard that men have, where men are just selfish, honestly. Like, I know, like, vast majority of my audience is men, and they're probably not gonna like the fact that I say that, but that is true. When it comes to shit like this, men are so selfish. It's like, what? Somebody else, a part of my group is graping our women? Who cares? Wait, what? Outsiders doing it? Unacceptable. Like, it's just like the logic of it's only okay when I do it. Or in the case, our group or the people that I'm a part of does it, bruh. Like, oh, dude, it's so stupid. And again, I'm not just talking about the whole like migrant crisis in Europe or anything, nor am I justifying that. All I'm saying is way too many times I've just seen this double standard throughout history, and it's retarded. I have no other way to say it. It's dumb. Let's continue.
Join Arminius's cause. Germanicus failed to anticipate that the act of rescuing Segestes will rally the tribes and give new impetus to the anti-Roman alliance. The swelling of Arminius's ranks causes alarm, but Germanicus counters by shipping off the pregnant Tusnelda to Ravenna. She eventually gives birth to a boy, and Tiberius makes sure to let Arminius and his allies know that his son will be raised as a Roman. Not only does
diabolical work
this hurt Arminius's prestige, but Rome now has leverage against him. While the Roman army returns safely to Vetera, Germanicus recognizes that the now strengthened coalition led by Arminius is as formidable a force as it was in the year 9 AD. And with Tusnelda's captivity enough to enrage the tribal elite across Germania, Arminius can spur them into a massed attack on a single point that could overwhelm the Roman frontier. Swift action must be taken. Wasting no time, Germanicus launches a massive combined operation. 3 army groups set out in the summer of 15 AD. The goal of the campaign is to dismantle yet another strong member of Arminius's coalition, the Bructeri, which would finally open the way to the Carusi lands. Caecina cuts straight across the Rhine towards the Bructeri from the southwest. Stertinius marches with his group on a wider flank from the south. Meanwhile, Germanicus leads an amphibious contingent from the mouth of the Rhine, intending to disembark at the Ems estuary. Following him on land with the cavalry is Albinovanus Pedo, who recruits more men from the friendly Frisi. Once they join forces, their plan is to move south along the
Frisians, English sisters. These are literally English people's sisters right here, bruh.
Ems River.
That's crazy.
And gather more recruits from allied tribes. Both Germanicus and Caecina are joined by survivors of the catastrophe of 9 AD who are familiar with the terrain. The giant Roman pincer closes on the Bructeri, who are already conducting a scorched earth retreat. But they are unable to escape in time. As Tacitus writes, amidst the carnage and plunder, the Romans under Stertinius found the eagle of the 19th Legion.
Oh!
The 2 army groups reunite, but Arminius manages to slip past them and retreat towards the forest in the east. Germanicus pursues...
This guy is like a freaking cancer, I swear. This is... oh my gosh, man. Freaking cancer final boss.
And it is while he chases the fugitive traitor that he comes upon the rotting remnants of Varus's legions in the Teutoburg Forest.
Oh, that's...
bones strewn about, heads nailed to trees.
Oh!
The grim spectacle causes a visceral reaction among the troops.
Oh,
Germanicus orders the dead to be buried. He is the first to start digging.
Damn!
In grief and in anger, the legionaries proceed to bury the remains of their comrades for much of the afternoon.
Yo, guys, usually I'm not really like phased by this type of stuff, but like honestly, I don't know, for this one just hits harder. This one just hits harder. Bro, what? I don't know, I'm like imagining myself a part of the column and just like walking. Like all you heard was that these legions got ambushed and were utterly destroyed in the forest. That's what I'm thinking. Like, I'm a part of the group of Germanicus, and I've never seen, okay? But I just simply heard of what happened. and then you actually walk to where it happened, and you're seeing the bodies, and you can only, bruh, holy shit, bruh. I know these men were just walking and just thinking of what these men had to deal with. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not victimizing the Roman Empire or anything. Like I said, the Roman Empire got what it deserved. But still, guys, these people were humans too, okay? So, I still have empathy, okay? So, just thinking about being one of these legions, walking and seeing the dead, and you're like thinking, holy shit, bro, what did these people actually go through? Like, you're actually like seeing, like, with your eyes what they truly went through. Oh shit, man, I ain't gonna lie, that got me a certain type of way. That got me feeling a certain type of way.
Germanicus sets off once more to eradicate the architect of that slaughter. He doesn't have to look far. Arminius is close, but maintains distance. He uses the pathless woods and thick vegetation to hide his movements. The Roman cavalry is ahead of the rest of the column and staying on Arminius's heels to slow down his retreat. But Arminius loses them in the woods ahead. Unable to see more than a few meters in the thick undergrowth, the pursuing Romans can tell by the tracks that the enemy must be close. Then, out of nowhere, they run into Arminius's line, already formed among the trees.
Alright, here we go.
A spontaneous fight breaks out as more Roman cavalry join in. In the overgrown forest, it's difficult to assess the size of the enemy force. But then a war cry comes from either flank at Arminius's pre-arranged signal.
Oh shit.
The Romans have fallen into an ambush.
Nigga! How do you fall for the same shit twice?
Attacked from two sides, the cavalry is instantly pushed south towards the swamp.
You better clutch up.
To avoid getting surrounded, the Romans begin a fighting retreat.
You better clutch up.
Surprise, the cavalry maintain discipline and suffer minimal losses.
Alright.
Germanicus's preparations are yielding results, as his troops are now better trained to fight in these conditions and circumstances. Germanicus can hear the ongoing battle in front of him and brings the men forward to form a line, with the rest of the column still trailing behind. Not long after, the retreating Roman cavalry runs into the infantry, with Arminius right behind them. Amidst the carnage, Germanicus continues to form and extend his line among the trees, and begins a limited advance to allow his embattled cavalry to retreat. Arminius's army is stopped dead in its tracks, but they push hard against the Romans. A fierce fight ensues, and the tribesmen give a good showing, matching the Romans in close quarters, blow for blow.
Okay, the Germans are finally showing up.
The Romans gradually deploy in battle order, forcing Arminius to disengage. He pulls his men back a stone's throw from Germanicus to assess the situation. Now that the Romans are fully deployed and ready for a fight, Arminius decides against another attack. Meanwhile, for Germanicus, continuing the pursuit might leave his army stuck in hostile territory once the cold season begins. Eventually, both armies turn and retreat in good order.
Bruh.
Arminius finally had the chance to size up Germanicus, and he more than met his match in the young Roman commander. Following the battle, Germanicus feels satisfied with the work done. Thinking the legions are sufficiently bloodied, he marshals the army back to winter quarters. Once they reach the Ems River, the Roman force splits up once again. Germanicus takes the northern legions downstream towards the ships waiting for him in the Ems estuary. Albinovanus and the cavalry join him and will proceed to follow the fleet on the coast. Meanwhile, Caecina guides the rest of the legions up the Ems River, along with an assortment of cavalry and auxiliaries. His intent is to then head south until he reaches the well-known path by the Lippe River and follow it west to the Rhine. The same route Varus intended to take before Arminius deceived him into changing his plans. But in contrast to the relative laxity of Varus's doomed march, Caecina moves quickly through what are now insecure territories. But while the Roman army was regrouping, Arminius assembled the troops and made way for the long bridges, a narrow makeshift crossing through the marshes between the Ems and the Lippe. It is a perfect location for an ambush, and Arminius knows that Caecina must come through this bottleneck. His plan is to intercept the southern Roman army group, now that it had split from Germanicus. The tribesmen traveled light, leaving their baggage behind to make better time.
You know what I find funny about this? Arminius is German, but he doesn't have the cliche, stereotypical German features. Blue eyes, blonde hair. I just clocked that, actually. Huh. Because that's literally what Romans describe Germans as. They have like extremely light blonde hair with blue eyes. That's literally how the Romans describe German people.
Unbeknownst to Caecina,
but he doesn't have it. I mean, he doesn't have Aryan features, bruh. Is what I'm saying.
About to face Arminius's entire army. Upon sighting the long bridges, the Romans are dismayed by the state of disrepair. The causeway going over the treacherous swamp is narrow, and much of the wooden platforms are rotten and unstable. Large sections are missing entirely, having either decayed and fallen into the water, or were perhaps demolished by the enemy. Caecina faces a grim dilemma. He can head back into the hostile forests of Germania and march around, a precarious route that would take weeks, or he can push through the dangerous marsh and be home in a few days. In a fateful move, the Roman commander decides on the latter. He orders half of the troops to hurriedly build a camp and fortify the flank facing the forest. The other half are sent to repair the causeway. The long bridges can best be described as logs or planks laid on top of supporting pillars to create platforms that serve as a road over otherwise impassable swampy terrain.
Oh wow.
By the 1st century, this was a well-established type of road built by people across Germania. But just as work began, comes the first attack by Germanic warriors. Streaming from the woods in the same manner they had when attacking Germanicus just days earlier, Arminius's men rush and blitz the long Roman lines.
Okay, now they're the ones doing the
Caecina
blitzing.
pulls whatever men he can spare to form up and protect the work details. Construction is slowed, but doesn't stop.
Yo, ho, ho. Bruh! Bruh, imagine, bruh. These men are still constructing in the middle of a fight. Bruh. Bruh. That bruh.
Has his enemy trapped in front of the bog. Throughout the day, his warriors test and probe for weak spots with ferocious attacks and missile barrages. He wants to wear down the Romans and delay the repairs to the causeway. Behind the lines, Arminius's own men work to divert the water from nearby streams towards the Roman camp to flood their position. Everything is going according to plan. For the Romans, the importance of repairing the causeway becomes terrifyingly apparent. If this one route of escape is not opened, they will suffer the same fate as Varus's legions.
Oh shit.
At the camp, the Romans cannot advance on the enemy and must endure the endless barrages from all directions. until just when they begin to falter and it looks like the Germanic warriors will make a breakthrough, evening falls and the attacks cease with the dark.
Look at all that water!
Caecina and his legions
gosh.
made it through the first day, but the night will be a restless one for the Romans. The water unleashed by Arminius has by now flooded the camp. The men are drenched and exhausted. The atmosphere is one of dread. In stark contrast to their horrendous situation, the Romans can see the enemy's campfires spreading along the hillsides in a vast semicircle around their camp. Echoes of singing, music, and taunting can be heard in the valley.
Nah, bruh, these Germans are petty.
Who are these divas?
Bro, this is probably like easily like top 5 best videos that I've reacted to, hands down. Bruh.
Germanic warriors have the upper hand, and they know it. Caecina
Bruh, you need to clutch up
to discuss the plan for the next day. They quickly draw the conclusion that staying in the camp any longer will seal their fate. They must make the crossing, despite the unfinished repairs to the causeway. Casualties will be inevitable, but with good fortune, the legions can get to grips with the Germans once they are clear of the marsh. The decision is made to move with first light. While the sentries keep a watchful eye, the general and his men try to get some rest. In a dream, Caecina sees a grotesque corpse of Varus rising up from the flooded marsh, telling him that his legions will suffer the same fate.
Oh, hell nah!
He wakes up in a cold sweat, but tells no one about the nightmare.
Oh, hell nah, nigga. Oh, nah, bruh. If I get a dream like that, I'm ordering all of them to cross immediately.
A bad omen could shatter the spirit of the troops. Next morning, Caecina proceeds with a sense of urgency. He orders the formation of a hollow square behind the camp in preparation to cross.
Bro, this shit is like a movie, bro. Someone needs to make a movie about this shit, bro.
Form up. Men in the outposts observe Arminius's army descending from the hills. The main attack has come.
Oh my gosh.
Caecina doesn't panic. With 40 years of military experience, he is one of Rome's finest commanders. He steadies the men. Pressed all along the perimeter, the thin line of the Roman rear guard initially absorbs the attack, but cannot stop Arminius's push. However, they buy just enough time for the square to form and start moving, before they too retreat to join them. Bearing the brunt of the attack, the 20th Legion holds the rear of the square. Caecina is just behind them, commanding the cavalry and ready to intervene at crisis points. The barely passable causeway is reserved for the baggage train. On the flanks are the 5th and 21st Legion. They agonizingly wade through the treacherous swamp, but maintain formation.
Holy shit!
Soon they come under attack, as the lightly armored Germanic warriors have less trouble moving through the swamp to hit the sides of the Roman square. In the front, the 1st Legion leads the way, facing the exhaustive task of clearing a path through the marsh as best they can. But it's hard going, as there is barely any solid ground to stand on, and in some places the water is too deep. Roman missile troops have some success in warding off the attacks on the flanks, but unbeknownst to Caecina and his staff, Arminius deceived them once again, executing the attacks with only a part of his army. The ongoing...
Honestly, bro, I gotta give credit to Arminius. This guy, bro, I guess he put all of his freaking stats into deception or some shit. I don't even know what to call it. He's pretty good at these tricks. I swear, this nigga is like a magician. He's literally like a magician.
Is just a diversion. His best troops are still held in reserve, lurking just out of sight. And just as Arminius predicted, Caecina's army is forced to stop when their baggage train gets bogged down. Hours go by, but the men in charge of the baggage are unable to get the carts moving. While the legionaries forming the square are forced to make their stand, nearly submerged in muddy water, amidst the thick vegetation of the swamp.
How the hell do you stay in formation in the conditions like that? Honestly, shout out to these legions, bro.
By noon, some of the legionaries have had enough. In desperation, they leave their positions to help get the pack animals and the carts out of the mud. But this creates gaping holes in the shield wall, leaving the entire Roman army vulnerable. Sensing blood in the water, Arminius pounces.
Oh shit. Oh gosh.
This day will be terrifyingly familiar to any veterans of the Teutoburg.
I know they were having PTSD, bro. I know it. Yo.
Taken service with.
Oh my gosh, nigga. Imagine you survive the freaking Teutoburg Forest, bro. My nigga. And you see this shit happening to you again, bro. Bro. The amount of PTSD attacks that these people probably were having in this moment. Holy hell.
The Germans sprint from the woods in their thousands. Lightly armored, they move through the swamp with much better dexterity than the legions can manage. Arminius leads an elite unit himself, focusing their attack on the baggage train where most of the officers and eagles are located. He shouts, Varus and his legions trapped once again in their doom. The Roman formation breaks. Another catastrophe is afoot. In a panic, most troops fight their way back towards the camp they had just left.
Bro. Oh my gosh. No way. Alright, am I actually gonna witness another catastrophe?
Where solid ground can at least give them a fighting chance. Caecina rides into the midst of the fighting, trying to shore up his men, but his own horse is brought out from under him. He is eventually surrounded and almost killed, before members of the First Legion double back and fight to rescue him.
Oh my gosh.
Chaotic retreat shatters any semblance of order, leaving every man to fight for himself. Supplies are abandoned, and the fallen are left to their fate. The German marauders descend upon the baggage train, no doubt searching for valuables that the Romans had looted over the previous months campaigning in the tribal lands. However, this lapse in discipline allows the Romans just enough time to regroup.
I was literally about to be like, I think that's a bad idea.
Without supplies and shelter, they are only able to construct a barely defensible perimeter. The troops huddle together as the uncertain night descends.
Bro, how the hell? Bro, how did they even have? They lost all their supplies. How did they even get the time to even build this? I'm shocked. Honestly, I think this is like top, number one video. No, I don't know. Hannibal. The oversimplified Hannibal video at Cannae, I don't know how the hell you pronounce that, bruh. That was bruh, that's like probably like number one. But this video, I don't know, bro. I feel like this video is like top, like easily number one most intense video I have ever reacted to. Honestly.
With few rations, despair makes its way around the threadbare camp, and the legionaries feel that all hope is lost. A horse, perhaps skittish from the continued cries and shouts of the Germans, becomes agitated and bolts, causing a disturbance near the gate. It is enough for a general panic, with many scrambling for the gate, believing that the Germans have breached the camp. Caecina personally rushes to block the entrance. Raising his cavalry Sparta blade, he tells the legionaries in no uncertain terms that he will die before letting anyone flee. He impresses upon the men that escaping into that darkness means certain death. The only way to save their lives is to stick together and fight. They will let the Germans come to them. So rallied, the soldiers ready themselves for battle.
Alright, talk no
In his
jutsu.
own camp, Arminius remains patient. He knows
Hype beast, final boss.
that a final assault would be risky, for in their desperation, the Romans will fight to the last. Let them starve, he says to the other tribal leaders. That would bring certain victory. Just as in the Teutoburg, the legions cannot remain in camp for long. They have no supplies, and after 1 or 2 days, they will need to make a break for safety, or else their leaders will lose control of the starving men. Let them make their escape, Arminius says, and we will run them down like deer in the forests, just as we did to Varus. We are on the cusp of another immortal victory.
Oh
But the goal among the
shit.
other leaders is to storm the Roman camp. The German chiefs are buoyed by their success. The Romans are defeated. All that's left to do now is complete the task. Arminius is overruled. The next morning at dawn,
No, Arminius knows what he's talking about. Bro, oh my gosh. Yeah, and Arminius was actually like he was around these Romans for a long time, right? So, bro, he knows, like, he knows how to do this shit, bro. Like, listen to Arminius. But these Germans, they weren't freaking around these Romans. So, I'm not even surprised that they freaking made that
the
choice.
Germans surge down in full force and attack the camp. On the weak defenses, all they see are a few defenders, hardly ready to fight. It appears the Romans have given up. Crying at the top of their lungs, the Germans are eager to finish off the enemy. Today they will enter the pantheon of heroes with a story to tell their loved ones for the rest of their lives. The overwhelmed Roman defenses are pushed back into the camp. In their desperation, the legionaries spent the night building makeshift barricades, mounds of dirt and rubble, thus creating a maze of obstacles and bottlenecks in the hope of stopping the German onslaught. Arminius himself arrives and takes control of the eastern wall, but just as he glances over the carnage inside the camp, Caecina's trumpets sound off.
Huh?
From hidden positions in the far end of the camp, the Roman general leads a counterattack against the mass of German warriors.
What is he cooking?
The
What is
tightly packed
Caecina's
Romans
cooking?
cut along the outer walls of the camp. All available cavalry exit the back gate and proceed to circle around to strike at the flank of the tribal army that amassed near the eastern wall. The remaining infantry storms out of the southern gate, bearing down in battle formation against Arminius's other flank. The last detachments spring from their hiding spots to join the fight in the center of the camp. The lightning attack leaves Arminius
Clutch.
with no time to react.
Clutch!
Caecina
Clutch. Bro, clutch! This is the most clutch shit that I have ever seen. I'm not even kidding.
His men keep low behind their shields, using the deadly sideways strike of the gladius. They climb the ladders to reclaim the eastern wall and cut the tribal army in two, trapping thousands of Perushi and Bructeri inside the camp. Sensing victory for the first time after 2 grueling nights, the legions are irresistible. Germanic warriors are trod into the muck by the hobnail boots of the advancing formations. It quickly becomes clear to Arminius that he is now fighting Rome's finest killing machines on their terms. He wisely withdraws, his men following after him in no particular order. Better to remain a threat than to risk annihilation. The Romans are in such control of the area by the next day that they repair the bridges and return to their bases on the Rhine, flush with victory.
Yo! Clutch, brah! Oh my gosh!
Learned that word had reached the Rhine of the attack, and that many had thought them lost. The garrison commanders were about to order the bridge destroyed, expecting a German incursion which would have left Caecina stranded, his fate sealed. Only the intercession of Germanicus' wife, Agrippina, had halted the dismantling of the bridge. Her belief that the legions will pull through was unwavering.
Wait, what? The wife switched up? No! The wife switched up! The wife switched up, bro! I'm not surprised. A woman moment.
Caecina and his men settle in for the winter, but they know that the war with Arminius is not over.
Yeah, bro.
Germanicus will once again lead them into the wilds to impose the greatness of Rome on those tribes that would deny it. For the moment, however, there is only gratitude for the living and a celebration of the dead.
Oh! It's... Holy shit! This series is mad. This series is so freaking mad. Oh my goodness, bro. If you have any other videos like this that you would love to see my reaction to, comment it in the comments below, bruh. If you're new to my channel and you love my reactions, you like my reactions, subscribe for more reactions like this. Turn the bell notifications on, bruh. Oh, make sure you like the video, bruh. Bruh, come on. Come on. Like the video so that more people can see this. More people can enjoy this together with us. Okay? My reaction, the video itself. Liking the video is simple. It helps. If you're an active viewer, check out my channel membership. It's only 99 cents a month, bro. There's so much good perks that you get with it. Especially if you have so much recommendations for me. It's excellent. Again, guys, this video is a part of Members Week, which is a perk of being a channel member. Your suggestions are done so much more faster, man. I'm not really gonna like talk about the other perks. I'm just gonna link the video where I talk all about the perks that you get for being a channel member there, okay? Bruh, that was some epic shit. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.